In the last lesson, we learned about one very common problem that LEGO programmers run into that causes the EV3 to behave differently than they expected. Specifically, the program that you're running isn't actually the program that you want to run. In this lesson, we're going to talk about another common issue that may cause your EV3 to behave differently than you might expect, and what to do about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to write a new program that isn't going to work the way we expect it to. In this program, we're going to have our robot say, "Okie dokie," and then draw a picture of a hand giving a thumbs up on the screen. Okay, so I have a brand new project here. I'm going to call this program, I just double-clicked up there, Okie dokie. And I'm going to save my project. File, save project as. I'm going to rename my project. I'm going to call it JSK. That's just my initials. Followed by, I don't know, additional pitfalls. Save. Okay, so let's work on this program. We're going to start with a sound block, right? And the sound block, we're going to look inside that communication folder. I already have it open, and I think there's an okie. There's okie dokie.
Okie dokie.
Woohoo. Okay. And now let's get a display block and put it right after that. And we're going to go into the image files, and inside the information menu, I think there is a thumbs up. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to turn on my robot and download the program. Okay, so let's run the program. I'm going to right arrow or right button over to the programs. And we called this additional pitfalls. You can see there's the JSK, my initials, and then additional pitfalls. I've said before, initials are very useful if you have lots of different people using the same robot. So let's go into there with the middle button. And there's our okie dokie program. So let's go down, and then I'll push the middle button and we'll run okie dokie. So watch the screen.
Okie dokie.
Huh. I didn't see the thumbs up. Let's just do it one more time.
Okie dokie.
Huh. In order to understand what's happening here, we need to talk more about what happens when you hit the run button on the EV3. As you know, the EV3 executes, that is, follows the directions for, each of the blocks from left to right in order. After the EV3 has executed the last block, it cleans up after itself. By clean up, I mean that the EV3 turns off the power to any motors that are connected to it, turns off its speaker, and resets the display on its screen. Let's talk about both of these parts in a little more detail. The EV3 executes a program one block at a time from left to right. At any given time, as far as the EV3 is concerned, it's only executing a single block. Later, we'll learn about ways to make it appear as though the EV3 is doing multiple things at once. But the truth is, for everything that we're going to do in this course, the EV3 will only ever execute one block at a time. You should imagine that the EV3 points an arrow at the block it's currently executing. When it's finished executing the current block, it moves on to the next one. And when it's finished that one, it moves on to the next. And it continues executing block after block until it completes all the blocks in order. Once it realizes that it has completed the execution of all the blocks, the EV3, being a polite and well-behaved piece of equipment, cleans up after itself. It turns off all power to the motors, turns off the speaker, and resets the display on its screen to let you know it's ready to run again. With this in mind, let's go back and look at our program. If you believe that the EV3 is working correctly, and trust me, mine is, then we have to believe that the EV3 runs the sound block, then it runs the display block, and then it cleans up. When we ran our program, we did hear the EV3 say okie dokie, so we know that first block worked. Please trust me when I tell you that the EV3 did actually display that hand on the screen. The catch is that it displayed it for so brief an amount of time before cleaning up that our eyes couldn't see it. And now we come to the crux of the problem. Different blocks take different amounts of time to execute. Let's look at the two types of blocks that we used in our program. When you play a sound, the default behavior, that is the standard behavior, is for the EV3 to wait until the sound is finished playing before moving on to the next block. You can actually change that on the sound block. If you look at this third menu here, drop-down menu, it says play type is 0 with this little picture of a checkered flag here. If I click on that, you can see 0 says wait for completion. That's what we've got selected. That's the default. You can also say play once, which means start to play the sound, but then go straight on to the next block while you're still playing it. And there's also repeat. But I'm going to leave this at wait for completion. When the sound type is set to wait for completion, that means that the EV3 should not move on to the next block until the sound block is done playing its sound. So the EV3 points at the sound block until it's done saying okie dokie, and then it moves on to the display block. In contrast to the sound block, the display block doesn't have any sort of wait for completion option. And that makes some sense if you think about it. After all, what does it mean to wait for a picture? As far as the EV3 is concerned, when it's told to display a picture, it does so, and then it just leaves the picture on the screen until it's told to change it. The display block does offer a clear screen option, and the default, that is the standard practice, is for clear screen to be set to true, indicated by a check mark. Clear screen is EV3 shorthand, meaning before you draw on the screen, clear off anything that's already on the screen. Think of it like erasing a whiteboard before you begin to draw on it. And so here's the problem in a nutshell. The EV3 does exactly what we tell it to. It plays the sound, and trust me, it does display a picture. Of course, we want the EV3 to do the sensible thing and show us the picture for a second or two before it cleans up, but the EV3 doesn't have any sense, doesn't know any better. It does what it always does. It executes each of the blocks in order, and then it cleans up. If we want it to wait after displaying that picture, we need to tell it to wait. So let's do that. All right, so we're going to have to actually go to this orange tab here, which says Flow Control. And we're going to select this block down here that has the little hourglass on here, which is called a wait block. Let's put that right here. And we want to wait for a certain amount of time, and that's what the wait block is set to when you select it. There's lots of things, but we want wait time. And let's just have that picture display for 2 seconds before we keep going. So I'm just going to change this 1 to a 2. I clicked on the 1, I'm changing it to a 2, and now I'm going to download my code. Okay, so for some reason the current project I'm working on isn't selected, so let's just use the up arrow or the up button and move to that JSK Additional Pitfalls program. And I'm going to select that one. There we go. And now let's try our okie dokie program again, and hopefully this time we'll see that thumbs up. So let's push the button and run it.
Okie dokie.
Terrific. The process of walking through a program step by step is known as tracing a program. So let's trace our final version of this program. The EV3 starts off on this sound block. It sends the command to its speaker to say okie dokie and waits until the phrase is finished. After completing the sound block, the EV3 moves on to the display block. It erases the screen, since the clear screen option is true, indicated by the check mark, and then draws the thumbs up on the screen. At this point, it declares itself done executing this display block and moves on to the next block. Now the EV3 arrives at our wait block. We set the wait time for 2 seconds, so the EV3 points at this block for 2 seconds. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Okay, done that one. Finally, our EV3 recognizes that it's done running our program, so it does its cleanup routine, which just happens to include resetting the screen. So let's just review our checklist so far. We've seen 2 situations in which your EV3 may not do what you expect it to do. In the previous lesson, we ran a program on the EV3 that wasn't actually the same as the program on our computer. In this lesson, we assumed that the EV3 was smarter than it really is and didn't realize that we had to explicitly tell the EV3 to do something. In this case, wait for 2 seconds.